What's up? It's Cassie Davis and welcome back to another Thenx video.
The context of this video is to disagree with information from another channel in relation to exercise science in relation to plyometric exercises for toning your buttocks. To be clear, this is informational, educational, and comedic in intent. They have voluntarily chosen to present information in this manner, so they are open to critique. And I'm sure that they're lovely people when they're not saying dumb stuff on camera.
Plyometric training tones your entire body.
That awkward moment when you go to an older video of yours and this happens.
Just by looking at these three characters, hopefully you don't look exactly like any of these three characters because I drew them myself and it's really bad.
And so I did the somatotype test and I came back as an elite Thenx plyometric toning athlete.
Today, I'm going to take you through an effective plyometric workout that tones your legs and burns fat simultaneously right from home.
Jenny's dropping facts all over the place because plyometrics, which are essentially for developing athletic performance attributes such as power, are great for toning the muscle.
Indeed, furthermore,
plyometrics, which are for developing short bursts of movement.
Plyometric training tones your entire body, burns calories, and improves your cardiovascular health, stamina, and endurance.
Which thereby improves stamina and endurance. That is literally the opposite of what plyometrics are for. Who wrote this script for you? Was it this guy? Even the new handball rule makes more sense than that.
Success, worked it into a video, I retire on that one.
Oh no, she's right, she's good, this is legit. I was a bit slow to the uptake, but this makes sense now. And so I typed Thenx into YouTube and this came up, and I'm not sure what attracted me to this video. Probably some kind of deep layered, subtle mind control technique going on that I can't yet quite fathom, but I did make the terrible mistake of clicking on it. Why don't they just say this is a home workout to burn calories and Jenny's going to jump all over the place to entertain a certain target audience? Don't add the toning marketing tosh all over it. It is a meaningless, nonsensical use of Toning, 6 letters.
We're going to start off with butt kicks.
Of course we are.
How I create my workout programs for the Harrier Pro app. Check out the program. I have an intermediate version as well as a beginner version. The reps are going to be a lot less. The rounds may be less as well. All right, I'm ready for the third set.
So Chris Harrier has now made the wise decision of selling a hybrid bodybuilding program, including teaching and programming barbell exercises such as the squat. This is slightly problematic. I'll just leave that with you.
And we're doing a high number of repetitions to help us reach hypertrophy.
I love how he says reaching hypertrophy like it's a bus stop.
And to help us build more muscle, we're going to be using high reps to help us reach hypertrophy.
Rather than a process of increasing sarcomeres in parallel. But let's not run before we can walk. And so Christopher does struggle to articulate many concepts well. And let's just say that his exercise science is as shaky as that shelf that I just put up, that I will put up tomorrow. But disappointingly to his ego, this video is not about him.
Legs and burns fat.
And so the fat loss thing from Jenny is okay because plyo can burn calories, so it can technically contribute to fat loss to help towards that caloric deficit. But I will also be presenting information from Dr. Schonfeld, who does indeed critique the application of plyometrics for fat loss. But even in that case, if you're using plyo for fat loss at home, you need to be very careful because many of these follow-along workout videos do not teach you jumping and landing form. And that can bring the risk of injury if you value the tendons in your knees. And this is a major issue with these types of plyometric fat loss home workouts. And one of the key culprits in this is the squat jump. And essentially these workouts just go into a follow along. They don't teach you the cues, the technique, the form, which is essential. And it's highly problematic with something like plyometrics, which is more of an advanced movement than beginner rudimentary protocols. Of course, you have to teach the basics of jumping and landing before you go through these follow-alongs. And here's an example with Cassie, which has been viewed 364,000 times. I'm just going to play her clip while I sit here. Let's see how awkward I can make this moment.
Guys, we'll be doing squat jumps. Let's go for 45 seconds and let's get to it.
New series of Fargo out. Chris Rock's in it. Actually given any cueing yet. How's it going? I'm not looking.
thank you for watching the last video.
And so I'm now going to unofficially collaborate with Thenx. My life goal is achieved. Plyometrics are a high impact, high force generating protocol, and as such can activate type 2 muscle fibers. Those explosive, power-based muscle fibers. I will be explaining plyometric concepts such as the stretch shortening cycle, different parts of a plyometric movement,
As well as what I call behave yourselves with this nonsense.
essentially meaning that it is not effective to train for multiple attributes using plyometrics in one session, and indeed that you should use specificity and focus on a certain attribute in a session with plyometrics to be more effective. For example, training for toning, fat loss, endurance, stamina, let's just say, is problematic. And so this is a key idea that I want you to take home today, that you need to be clear of your training goals with every exercise and every session you are performing. Plyometrics are thought of as jump training by many people, and this is not wrong per se. However, it doesn't do justice to the power, pun intended, that plyometrics can have in your training. More accurately, plyometrics are not just jumping actions. You can also, for example, use plyometric push-ups, but contact time with the ground is vital to think about. Plyometric exercises are associated with a minimal contact time with the ground. And so I want you to think of plyometrics as an eccentric contraction, which then rapidly transitions to a concentric contraction. The eccentric phase can be thought of as preloading a muscle ready for action, the stretch. The transition is the time between the eccentric and concentric phase. And then the concentric phase uses that stored energy to increase the force of the movement. A simple way for you to think about plyometrics is, for example, as a spring, the movement, the coil, and then release of a spring. And plyometrics are great for developing power and thereby can be important for athletes. And the really important concept which makes plyometrics so valuable for athletes is something called the stretch shortening cycle. The stretch shortening cycle is this rapid cyclical muscle contraction where you have an eccentric contraction quickly followed by this concentric contraction. And this is how you produce a large amount of force. For example, in rugby, the stretch shortening cycle is everywhere from sidestepping, from sprinting to the try line, or this.
Plyometric exercises rapidly stretches your muscles, allowing you to move more efficiently.
But here's the deeper level science I want to project to you. Think about this. Plyometrics are exceptional for developing power. However, for many people, and in a lot of these home workouts, and for example, this Thenx workout, you'll see plyometric workouts for multiple goals in one session, for fat loss, for power, for speed. And so you're not wrong per se if you're using plyo for burning calories, because of course it can do that. And of course that can contribute to caloric deficit and fat loss. But if you are training for fat loss, for that fat loss goal, you can't thereby also optimize for power in that same session because they're programmed differently. Power training with plyometric will be low repetitions and you're training for performance, not for fatigue. If you're training for fat loss, for burning calories, you may be performing more and more repetitions at a slightly lower intensity, for example. And here's a great explanation from Dr. Andy Galpin.
For example, someone does a box jump. They're like, okay, box jumps, I want to get better power in my legs. So they'll go and do like, all right, let's spar for 5 rounds, and then I'll go do 100 box jumps as fast as I can. You're not getting any faster like that. You're just getting more tired. That will not improve your power at all. You're actually jumping at a very submax speed the whole time because you're already fatigued. So if you want to use those for power, now if you're using it for conditioning, fine, no problem. But if you're using it for the sake of improving your foot speed or your power or your strength or your explosiveness,
you should be well rested.
Yes.
Yes.
1, 2, 3 reps, take a break.
And so you can see how if you have multiple goals that are thrown at you with plyometrics in these nonsensical YouTube videos, that you can't optimize for all these goals. And so you have to be very clear about your goals and what you are doing and why you're doing it. And interestingly, this is what Dr. Schoenfeld has to say about plyometrics. If you attempt to perform them in a manner designed to increase fat burning, you'll necessarily compromise the ability to initiate the stretch shortening cycle. Worse, you're likely to compromise form as fatigue sets in, thereby increasing the risk of injury. Take home, perform plyos if you want to develop explosiveness, not to get shredded. If you want to optimize fat loss, focus on diet and then selectively add in cardiovascular exercise as warranted in the context of your training program. But in the case of these videos, they just throw in all these different goals that you can achieve in the same session because, in my opinion, it's good marketing. And to end, I'm going to leave you with some final information from Elite Thenx. I'm James Linker, Shredder Sports Science. I'll see you soon.
So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button and share the video with a friend who's looking for a good plyometric workout.